I'm rolling. Today is the 4th of July.
Right. I didn't think of that, you know. I didn't
4th
look
of
at...
July, 2024.
Well, when I begin to read my newspaper, I know what the date is.
Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yeah.
אם את יכולה מדי פעם לקחת תמונה שלי ושלו ביחד עם ככה, כאילו...
סטילס?
כן, כן.
יש לי וידאו.
יש כמה סטילסים. So, today's our third meeting.
Right.
And we're going to start to talk today about your journey to Palestine.
Yes.
And the Palmach and Sasa. And that's what we're going to focus on today.
Okay.
Okay. So, you and Leah board a ship. You guys get these fake documents that you're coming here on a business trip
Yes, I am.
to scout for wine, right?
But there was the first group. That's the first group that created Sasa. That is, we came we came to start Kibbutz Sasa.
Right.
It wasn't called Kibbutz Sasa.
Right, but you didn't know where you were going to go exactly.
No, the Soch didn't know the Sochnot.
Right, you first ended up in a Shafet.
We first ended up at Shar Golan. And Ein HaShofet, because Ein HaShofet we were there a year. And the other places, they moved us one place to another. Because they weren't sure where they're going to give us land.
What's your arrival date in Palestine?
I don't remember.
I think it's 47.
I can find it.
And you're on the ship for how long?
They were on the ship
For a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks.
Sure.
And it was a ship that went from New York City
Yes.
to Haifa.
Yes.
Did you guys have any stops on the way?
Yes, we stopped in
1947,
Spain.
Spain.
Yes.
and then was the declaration of
And in
United
Spain,
Nations, yeah?
in Spain there was a civil war on.
No, the Civil War was over.
Well, it's over, but they're still shooting in the mountains. There's still
Yeah?
we can hear the explosions going on there because we went into the mountains to get a hotel.
Uh-huh.
first.
So you arrive in Haifa.
Right.
You arrive in Haifa. You're with Leah.
Yeah. I with Leah and a group of kids from our group that came together.
Right.
We all came together.
And you're coming as a business entrepreneur.
Right.
Right. You're coming
As
to
far as the government was concerned.
the British government.
Right.
Right. And you get to the port of Haifa.
Right.
And you get a visa, a business visa.
I have
Right?
it. I have it.
You have it. Yeah, I see it in the book.
Yes.
And you're
תראה, אמא שלי פה כתבה, הגענו ארצה ב-21 בדצמבר.
On the 21st of
אמא
December.
כתבה את זה.
On the 21st of December.
Yeah. Smoke on Leah.
1947.
So you come here right at the beginning, basically, of Milchemet Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Yes.
Milchemet HaShichur.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you're on the boat when you hear the United Nations...
The Marine Carp.
The Marine Carp, that's right. Yep. And while you're on the boat, the United Nations passes the partition.
Right. It was a
What
big
did you
celebration,
guys
big
do?
celebration on the
Tell me
boat.
what you did.
We had a big celebration and we danced and sang and got drunk and it was really something because there was a group coming from Mexico as well.
Uh-huh.
About somewhere outside here.
Yeah.
A few of them just joined us afterwards. And it was quite a celebration considering, and there were Olim on the boat.
Yeah.
Olim coming from Europe.
From Europe that you picked up
Yes.
in Spain?
Yes, I think it was in Spain.
So you picked up...
And we sat and talked with them, and
Wait,
they
so
told
this
us a little bit about what they'd gone through.
That's exactly what I want to ask you. This is the first time that you encounter Holocaust
Right,
survivors.
right.
Tell me about that.
Well, we began to, it was all, it was all spontaneous. And they told us they were here and they were in this concentration camp and so forth. And here we had come face to face with the people who had been involved in it. And it was really something, but the celebration was over everything. Because this was a state, it was our country.
You arrive in Haifa on the 21st of December, 1947.
And we put it up in a hotel on the Carmel.
Right.
And that's where we sat and talked with them.
With them, yeah.
Because they were there too.
You're speaking probably Yiddish with them, no?
Yeah, Yiddish and some English.
Some English too.
Yes.
Was it a very intense experience for you to meet these people?
I don't know if it was intensive, but it was interesting. It was very interesting to meet these people personally,
Right.
and mostly young.
Right. Now, when you get into Palestine, are you immediately brought into the Palmach, or are you?
No, we're not brought into any organizations. We're part of Ashober Tzair.
Okay.
And we're the first group that are going to build a kibbutz, an all-American kibbutz in Israel. Why all-American? There are 5 American kibbutzim there, but 4. Ein Shofet, and the number is Aleph. Bet is Banegiv.
Shar Golan.
No, Shar Golan is not in the American kibbutz at all. What the hell are they? I'm so familiar with them.
It's okay. So
Personally, even.
Sasa is the 5th.
Yes,
Sasa's
and
the
that's
fifth American.
what they called us was kibbutz Menakai Hamishit, right?
קיבוץ עלייה ה'.
Kibbutz Aliyah A. That was our name until we became Kibbutz Sasa.
Right. But you were in En Shofet for a year first.
Well, we were in Ein Shofet first. First we were in Mishmar Emek.
Mishmar Emek.
Yeah, for a week, and then part of us went to Shar Golan, and the rest of us were at Ein Shofet, and then we went to Ein Shofet where we remained until they decided, the Sichnut decided where we're going to settle.
Physically, where they're going to put you.
Yes, right.
But you knew that it was going to be up north.
No, we didn't.
You didn't.
No, we didn't.
You didn't. Okay.
No, we didn't know anything, but after...
Now, when you're in a shofet for 1 year, what are you doing there?
Working.
Where are you working?
We were mostly Shmirah.
אין השופט, כפר מנחם, חצור.
Kfar Menachem, that's the one. Chatzor, Ein Dor, and then Sasa.
Yeah.
And there's another one, Barkai, after us.
And the situation in En Shofet at that time is quite intense, no? I mean...
Yes, it's Emek Israel. It's not the Emek Israel, but it's Harei Ephraim,
Yeah.
where there is action with the Arabs.
Are the Arabs organized, or is it just like little gangs?
Well, I hate to say this, but first of all, the British prepared them for us, because the British, they revolted. A few months before, the Arabs revolted, and the British just cut them down to pieces. They shot up some of their villages. They came with air car and this and that, and they were unprepared for a war.
They were unprepared.
Yes, because the British really came down on them.
In the northern part of Israel during the War of Independence, you were dealing mostly with like small.
Well, maybe
bandit villagers.
Well, most of the
but
war.
also the Syrian army and the Lebanese army, no?
And the what do you call it? The famous Fatah, no.
Kaluji.
No, not Faluji. He was, well, they had a number of armies. They were disorganized.
They were disorganized.
Yes, and they really were not prepared for it.
And when you're in a shofet, what is Leah doing there?
Leah is working in the baby house.
In the
לא,
Tinukiya.
רק אגב.
No, she worked in Gan Yerek.
agriculture.
Right, in Gan Yerek. She worked in Gan Yerek, right.
And
That's where she worked with Diane's wife. And the guy-
ראשון.
No, Rishon is ours, from Ein Shofet. We're the Ein Shofet, and the Gan Yerek is in the Ein Shofet, yes.
And
We
you're-
go out every morning by horse and buggies or horse and wagons. We go out to the fields. I didn't. I went to Haifa. מה?
How are you in Leah?
לא בססה, זה בין השופט.
אנחנו מדברים עכשיו על עין השופט.
מדברים על אין שופט.
Okay. And so you're guarding. You're doing a lot of guarding.
Yes, we are.
Defensive.
Yeah.
Is there any offensive?
Not that I remember,
Okay.
but there certainly was. They were shooting in Jerusalem, they were shooting all
I'm
over.
not talking
the-
about Jerusalem. I'm talking about you and Ena Shofet.
No, there was actually we were on watch for it, but there wasn't. Maybe isolated cases here and there, but there was really no. It was the War of Independence, actually.
Right. But not a lot of action where you are.
Not where we are, but
Okay. In other places, yes.
but
of
there
course.
seemed to be action because we were sent on all sorts of pulot, not serious ones.
Okay. Okay. And when do you guys start to actually physically get ready to go up to Sasa?
It,
Let's put it this way. When is the first time that you see Sasa?
I wasn't the first one to see it, but we had a big discussion whether we would go to Sasa or not.
Okay.
The Sochanot came to us and they said, we're ready to take your first group because we already had over 20 people here.
Okay.
We already had our first Garin, like. And so they approached us to go, and they offered us an opportunity of one of two places.
Okay.
Farod, where Kibbutz Farod is today.
Which kibbutz?
Farod. I'll describe it to you. When you go down to the Galil, you get down to the bottom of the hill, and right there is the kibbutz called Farod.
Okay.
Farod, which was an Arab village too, and Sasa. And we went to see. I wasn't involved in the group that went to see this.
Uh-huh.
And they picked Sasa. And when I heard that, I almost blew my top.
Why?
I said, what the hell are we going to do here? On the mountains and all the stones and what do you call it? There's no land, there's nothing here. And it's way up north and so forth and so on. How are we going to make a living? And of course, I afterwards told a story at one of the occasions, and I apologized because we had built a
Because you fell in love with it.
yeah, I fell in love with it, and it became really part of us, and almost the American Jewish community.
So most of the founders of Kibbutz Sasa were Americans?
They were supposed to be all Americans.
Okay. But
Why? Because the four kibbutzim that came before, they were also Americans,
Okay.
but they were Europeans.
Okay.
They came from Europe and they brought the movement to America.
Okay.
And so they were part Americans.
What do you find when you come to Sasa in 1948, right? 49, 48? Probably end of 48.
I'm very bad with dates.
Okay, it doesn't matter. When you come to Sasa, What do you find there?
Stones, rocks and stones. Where Sasa was is a village. It's an
13 לינואר
Arab village.
1949.
Okay.
It's an Arab village in the mountains, and every house has its well, and the fields are divided up into terraces
Uh-huh.
with stones
Yep.
marking the different terraces.
Sure.
And here we are in this Arab village. It has no electricity. It has no real roads, streets, or anything like that. And there are Arab houses closely built one on top of the other, like the Arabs built our houses.
Hold on, I'm just going to wait for him to finish.
So we have patrols in the village too,
Sure.
because we're not sure.
Where are the inhabitants that live there?
Where are the Arabs?
Yeah.
It's a village. There are homes here.
Where
There
are
were-
they? Where are the villagers?
They ran away a few days before, because there was action here at Gush Chalav, where they fought at so Sasa was famous, not Sasa, Safsufa. Safsufa, you pass it as you come up to Sasa, because the Jews committed an atrocity there.
The Druze?
The Jews, us. There were, the army that came up was the 5th something, I think, and and their officers were from South Africa. The Jews, very tough.
Machal people.
Yes.
So they fought the Battle of Sasa?
Not Sasa. They didn't fight the Battle of Sasa. The Battle of Sasa said they came into Sasa from 3 different directions. From Tarshiha, from this in the north, and from the Nahariya district here, and they came up from Haifa. 3 units came in at once. And the 5th, it was the 5th, what do you call it? The,
Alexandroni?
no, it was Chativat Chamesh.
Chativa Chamesh?
Yes.
A lot of South African volunteers.
Well, I don't know them a lot, but they had officers, Israeli officers who were in the Israeli army.
So you guys came after the battle?
Yes, we came after the battle.
Was it strange for you to be living in a village that was just inhabited by other people who ran away?
Well, you could say strange, but after a few days it became our home. You know, we lived in the Arab houses, that's where we lived.
Sure. That wasn't strange?
Yes, it was, but everything was strange, you know. We had come from America, and we'd been in Shafed, and we'd been in Shar Golan, and we'd been there and there. And we'd been building our kibbutz, our membership was growing in.
How many people were you at the beginning?
Well, actually here we were about 25 at the very most, but we had over 100 people. And that was the problem of the Sochnut. They couldn't find a place where we could build a kibbutz. We're starting with over 100 people. So they kept us here, and they kept us there, and they kept them waiting. It was a war, so you know, maybe next week they'll have a kibbutz, they'll have a place. And then when they showed us Sasa, I was terribly disappointed. First of all, I wasn't used to this kind of land, this kind of situation where people lived, you know, and they built houses out of stone and so forth and so on. But we quickly moved in and we quickly became part of it.
What was your first task in Sasa? Personally, your first task? Like, what were you?
I was the Rabash, in charge of the Bitachon, because of my background. And the commanding officer was a Canadian. He was in charge of the whole district. What was his name? Ma? גבעת שמע, כן, כן. The commanding officer was Dunkelman. Dunkelman, and the second in charge.
He didn't know Hebrew.
You know Hebrew? No.
No, he didn't. And the second in charge was he had an Israeli that was originally from Edo Shofet. Yosef something. And he came up and he spoke to me about the bitachon. We went around the different places where they were going to make emdot, little emdot to protect it if we were attacked.
So how close are you to the border?
Well, we are actually about a kilometer and something from the border. But there's no action on the border here. This is Lebanon.
Right. There's no what?
Action here, except from what
It was quite quiet.
Well, up here it was, but
Yeah.
there was fighting. There was fighting at Tarshiha. There was fighting at. There were a number of Arab.
There was a lot of fighting.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
fought. There was a big battle.
Yeah. So
The Palmach had come up to Sasa first, and they had attacked it with a small group, a commando unit. And they had wounded soldiers, a few.
yeah.
Tell him about the mask.
Ma?
What happened with the mask? The mask in Sasa, Misgad.
Ah, yes.
there
They had, there was a Mizgan here. And the thing was, we going to live with a Mizgan there? And so it was a big discussion.
What to do with it?
Yes. And I have to go to the washroom.
Oh, okay.
Now,
We were taught. Look at me though. I want you to look at me.
I want to go back a bit.
Mosque.
I want to go back a bit.
Yeah.
There was a war going on.
Right.
And there was a Sasa was attacked by Palmach during that war, at the beginning of the war. They came in at night and blew up a few houses. Some people were killed in the village, and we had some wounded. There were some of the Palmachnikim that were wounded. And there was a problem, because their base was near Tzvat. It was, it doesn't exist today, but it was a village there before Tzvat was the base of a Palmach. And they had to get back there. And they decided they're going to walk on the highway because they had to carry wounded. And they did. And they did. They carried them, and they went to Tzvat from here, walked to Tzvat from here, back after a
Stretchers
battle.
and everything.
After a battle,
It's like 35 kilometers. No.
something like that. Yeah, man. It's the kilometers. You know, you go up and down. You go up and
Was that a
down.
battle before you came to Sasa? Or
Yes,
you
before.
got there?
Before.
But I want to ask you about the mosque.
Okay, let's go
talking-
back.
we're
That's
talking
a
about the
story in itself.
Let's go.
There was a mosque here, and you can see exactly where it was. And there's Mikarot built a concrete, what do you call it, to store water. And it's exactly in the place where the mosque was. And it looks, and it's the shape of the mosque, because they built it with a dome like. When we came here, the mosque was there.
Right.
And we're a group of Americans, not only Israeli Zionists and so forth and so on, but we're Americans. And Hashomer Tzair, there's a political argument going on in the country, exactly how Israel is going to be, the Medina. Will it be a dual state with the Arabs? And that was part of Hashomer Tzair, the dual state. And what happened was when we got here, we had to talk about the mosque. Are we going to live with a mosque or aren't going to live with a mosque? And we were divided. Liberal Americans thought we should live here together with the Arabs and so forth and so on. And I was in charge of the Bitachon. I said, no way, we're not going to live in a mosque here. We have to blow it up.
You said that.
Yes. And of course, big fights were created, and
Well,
we
yeah.
had three big meetings about that. And in the end, the army came and they said, we went to Yehusha Dayan. That was our madrich. He's a ben-dod of what do you call it, Dayan?
Moshe Dayan.
And he's from, he was America's Michigan Ein Shofet.
Uh-huh.
And Ein Shofet did this wonderful thing, and they gave him to be our madrich. And he came up here with us.
He knew Arab,
He knew
He knew
Arabic.
Arabic, he knew the country, he knew everything.
So you have 3 meetings in the kibbutz.
In the kibbutz,
Whether
and
to blow up the
we're
mosque or
actually
not.
fighting
I'm sure.
whether to blow up the mosque or not.
I'm sure.
And I certainly led the group to blow up the mosque because having nothing to do with politics, I felt we couldn't live here with a mosque. And not only that, I didn't think of it at the time, because to this day, some Arabs come up here to visit.
They come up
But
to Sasa?
they don't come anymore because there is no mosque. But there was a building, there was a school, and it was this and that, and
It was a Muslim village.
it was a Muslim village, and it was a critically anti-Jewish village.
It was?
Yes, the Jews couldn't come up here. If they hitchhiked here, they were in danger, and some got stones thrown at them, and little fights and so forth and so on. Because, and you see, Sasa's built with all the roads come to Sasa. If you're going to Nahariya or you're going to all around are the
It
roads
was a
that
very
connect.
strategic place.
Right, that's why they wanted us to come here. And being as we had a large group, the army was very satisfied, and when we came here, the army was still in Sasa, and the army stayed with us for almost a month or two. And I was in contact with them.
So what happened with the mosque? You blew it up?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And then we decided, Yeshua, me, and Willie. Willie was a Mexican that joined us.
I read about him.
Yeah. And we decided we're going to blow that bloody mosque up. And it's not going to be here when we come on each foot. And that's what we decided then, while these systems were going on. And so we went to Chatibat Sheba. They were in Tzfat. And the commanding officer was Dunkelman and Yosef something from Ein Shofet, who was very important. I don't remember his name, but it was very important because he was Israeli. And he knew he was in our movement. And we knew him, and so forth and so on. And so the army said to us, listen, we can blow up the mosque tomorrow, it's no problem. But tell us, give us permission. You guys live here now. I can give you an example of you guys live here. Slowly, people began to come to Sasa. And one day the army comes. The Israeli army comes into the kibbutz, and they're having imunim, It's and they come right in. They don't ask anybody. They go all over the place, and they do what they want to. So our America's message, his name was Yoel Schechter.
Okay.
Said, go to the Cheder Neshek and every man get a rifle. And we closed off the village to get out, where the army was in the village, and we were in the middle part of it. And we blocked it so they couldn't leave. And we were there with our rifles too, and so forth and so on. And we had a discussion with them, and they said, listen, we're Army, we got no monkey business. This is part of our... So we said, you may be Army, but this is our village. And nobody comes in here without our permission and without us knowing what they're doing here, what they came for. And so the Army accepted that. They apologized, and after they finished with that, so we let them out. But that was one of the incidents. And
What happened with the mask?
I'll get to it.
Okay.
And so we came back to here, and we're discussing the massacre. And so then the Army comes up to me, and they say, well, okay, Yaakov, you decided you can blow up the mosque. We didn't tell them we decided, but we decided without telling anybody. And we had a few of our close friends that believed the way we did about blowing up the mosque. The Army comes one day, they're supposed to contact me before they do anything. And the Army comes one morning, and they said, Amaz Khan, me. We came to blow up the mosque. I said, when? Right now. I said, what do you mean right now? There are people all over here in the vicinity of the mosque. We'll give you exactly an hour to get out, because we're going to blow it up in an hour. And there was a house next to the mosque, and we had people living there as well. But we didn't have, not our people, there were soldiers with us here at the beginning. There were Israeli soldiers here with us. And there were soldiers living in that building that they blew up. The building next to the mosque that they blew up. And they certainly blew up the mosque. And the mosque...
המיקרופון כאילו סגור.
הכל בסדר.
בסדר? אוקיי. אוקיי, continue on this.
And the mosque blew up, but the top part of it
The
was
dome
the dome.
didn't.
No, it just went up and down, and all the walls went out, blew up, and so forth and so on. But the
And I heard it was, I read about it, that it was a really big explosion, that rocks were flying everywhere.
That's right, and people were, everywhere. I was there with the three of us. Were in the middle there, and we didn't know where to go.
That was the second time they came, no?
That was the second time.
Yes,
This
second
was
time.
the first time I'm talking about.
First time the stones fell all over.
And what happened was the stones tore
Here,
into this.
Look at me.
And the stones tore into this house, and there were a couple of soldiers were wounded. And of course they took them to the hospital. Nobody was seriously wounded.
How did you feel after the mosque was blown up? Did you have any
After
guilt?
how I felt good.
You felt good? Okay.
I was fighting for it to be blown up, and I
yeah.
felt that we had come here. I said, and we're gonna live here, and there's not going to be a mosque for our children to grow up with.
Yeah, some people said that they would sleep in the mosque so that they won't blow it up.
Yeah, one of my best friends.
But it really tore up the community, this whole debate.
Right.
Right?
We had 3 debates of the
Right.
whole community.
Right. Did you guys take a vote?
It almost split the
Did you
community.
guys make a vote?
Yes.
And what was the
We never decided completely one way or the other.
Jews can never make up their mind.
No, but he said to the army, come and blow it up.
Yeah.
Well, that's something they didn't say it. A couple of us unofficially.
Yes. Look at me
Well,
though. So
went
we
to
can
the
have your
army.
faith. Yeah. So the war is over,
Right.
and you have to work very hard. How does Sasa make a living? How are you making a living? What are you doing?
Well, that's a question for all the time.
Yeah.
How can I make a living? Well, we found that if they had some apple trees here, they were going to go to apples and so forth, but they were apples.
Yep.
And we decided we're going to plant apples.
Orchards.
Orchards, that's number one. And number two, we built a garage.
Okay.
And we started a small factory.
I'm talking about the early days.
These are the early
Okay,
days.
what kind of factory did you guys...
We started a factory of
Figs, no?
what?
Figs.
Figs.
Well, first of all, we started a factory of, yes, figs and fruit. Then we started a dry factory. We would dry fruit and then we would dry onions and potatoes and everything. The Army even had orders here. And the buildings for the factory is still here. So it's not as bad. It doesn't have the same use.
Do you do any welding work?
In that factory, I did most of the welding. I did most of it. What we started is we began to weld tracks from the, every tractors have these big, like a tank, they have these big tracks that they make, and what happened is it's made up of chuliot.
Uh-huh.
And they wear out. The ones that are on the surface wear out, and you have to either buy new tracks or buy new chuliot and replace the tracks or buy new tracks, which are very expensive. And at that time in the country, every tractor that was here had these tracks. And we were the only place where you could replace them. I remember the guy in charge of our factory, Shlomo Bond, he was called. He was a terrific guy. He took the tracks apart and everything, and he set me up with a welding section there, and I began to weld these tracks one at a time. Of course, every day I did.
What did Leah do?
Leah was at that time.
At the beginning, in Sasa.
At the beginning at Sasa, she was in the Ganier. Yeah. She started the Ganier in the Birka. You know where the Birka is? It's right across the northern road. In Sasa land. They used to go down with a chamor they had, and they would go buy food and come back, and eventually they got a tractor and some equipment. And the orchard where today the Mamta is, they built a small section of it.
And what's the biggest challenge for you guys in the kibbutz in the early days? What's the biggest challenge for all of you guys?
No water.
Water was no, but you see, water was a national problem. It was not. It wasn't a problem. It's something we faced every day because we didn't use the kind of water the Arabs did. I mean, we had a kitchen, and it became more and more watering all the time, and we needed more water, and we began to water our apple trees. We needed a hell of a lot more water, and so we got it.
How? I heard that you were building the water pipe from Afula up north.
Yes, I did that too.
For how long?
I did that before we built the in Sasa. I sent me to do avodah chutz.
Yeah.
And at that time, avodah chutz, one of the things that they were looking for were welders to work on pipelines.
It was good money?
Sure, it was good money. Oh yes, it was good money for that time. And so I got a job with a contractor who was putting in the pipes in the north, ending up in Ayala de Shachar. Ending up there was starting in the mountains where Alma is. You know where Alma is? Alma going down to the Hula, and I worked there. And I had we had a welding machine here of ours, a big welding machine that did special welding where you could do high, big rods, and I won't go into the mechanics of welding.
Right. And also near Sasa, there's a Druze village called
Fesh.
Huh?
Gush Chalav.
Gush Chalav.
No, Gush Chalav is not a Druze village.
Okay.
It's a Christian
Chofesh?
village divided almost evenly between
Christian and Muslim.
Christians and Muslims.
And what's your relationship with the inhabitants there?
Well, we have very good relationship.
Yeah?
Yes, I was very well known in all the Arab communities in all the districts, and so forth and so
How
on.
come? How come you were known?
Because I worked with the cattle at the beginning, and
Okay.
I met the what do you call it, the shepherds, and there were, in the early days here, there was no laws about who the land belonged to, and if it wasn't plowed, if it wasn't cultivated, then everybody would use it for grazing. And so I began to fight with them not to come into our section of the land. And I began to beat them up.
You have to?
I beat them up.
Uh-huh.
And I began to do other things. I began to take their mails for a few days till the police came, and we made some kind of sultan. We gave it back to them what they promised. And then I went to the Minhal. And I said to them, what's our land and what is their land? And they said, wherever you take over land and you fence it and you put animals in there, that's your land. And so I began to...
So it seems like you wouldn't get along with the Arab neighbors.
I got along with them. That's one of the ways I got along with them.
And what's the name of the village, the Druze village?
Khorfesh. Khorfesh is on this part of it.
And it's different relationship with them?
Oh yes, I'm considered what do you call it, member of Khorfesh.
They call him Sheikh Abu Dawood.
Abu Dawood?
Yes.
That was my son's
Your oldest
name.
son, yeah, David.
Yeah.
But
Dawood.
Abba, tell them about how you got to to work with the cattle.
Yeah. How did that come along? How did the cattle thing come together? Because you're a welder, you're a marine.
We have sheep. We don't have cattle. We had a sheep here.
Yeah.
And every day, shepherds would go out, two shepherds would go out with the herd of sheep and come back in the evenings. And gradually we began to fence some of them sections in. And I began to fence anyhow because this was our land. And one day the Merkaz Meshach came up to me and he said, Yak, he said, we're going to sell the sheep because it's a lumatimlan.
Uh-huh.
People won't work with them. And we got cattle, we're buying cattle, 40 cows.
What kind of cows?
40 cows.
40 cows.
Yeah, he didn't tell me what kind because he didn't know himself. And we got these cows, and then the Merkaz Meshach came up to me and he said, Yak, would you be willing to take over the cattle herd?
What do you know about cattle?
And I said to him, well, the only thing I know about cattle is eating steaks. He says, well, that's a start. And so...
How did you study about this? How did you learn?
Well, we began to go some books and people and villages and where they were raising cattle. There were some cattle herds in the country with Jews, and I would go visit them, and they would tell me
Did you
how.
go take a course or something? Or
No, I never took a course with later.
He was sitting with the cows and he was throwing stones at them so that they won't go far away, right?
Yeah, well, they
guy
control
told
them.
you
There are
they
different
were-
ways of controlling animals.
Now, when you're raising cattle, you're raising the cattle for what? What's the economic?
Meat.
Meat.
We have a milk barn already.
You have a what?
Milk barn.
Refit.
We have a milk
Left it,
cows,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and they are Holsteins. And we have people who work with cattle in Canada from our organization, and they are running the milk barn. And I'm running the cattle herd, and I'm slowly learning. And soon I'm beginning to teach.
How was the work with the cattle? Because I mean that's really
We
like,
had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Part of the season, part of it not. We're close by, but the cattle live on pasture,
right.
or you can feed them.
Right.
You can feed them, you're losing money.
You gotta feed them.
Well, they have to eat.
Right.
With that, and so we began to utilize the pasture land and fence it in, and enlarge the cattle herd.
How many years did you dedicate to being a cowboy?
I think most of my life.
He was sitting with, tell them about the Lebanese, what happened in the border
What?
with the Lebanese.
Oh, I knew the Lebanese across the border. There were no fences, there was nothing there, just marks.
Right.
They're border marks.
Right.
And they had these white stones they'd built every kilometer,
Right.
every kilometer.
Right. And
And I was in contact with the Lebanese also.
who were
And,
also cattle.
Also cattle and sometimes my cattle went across the border to the village. And I had to get them back. And I had
Was
to
there good relations between?
Yes, I knew them. We met at the border. We sit on the border and we drink coffee together. And they'd bring chalva from Lebanon, which was terrific. And I would bring some of our apples and so forth and so on. And I knew them, and I didn't learn anything about raising cattle from them.
No.
I might have without
But you
knowing
learned to
it.
be a good neighbor.
But we were a good neighbor.
You bought things from Lebanon, the eggs and
This border, one of the biggest businesses was Havracha.
Right. I read that.
Yeah. And
I'm sure you were part of it also.
no, I wasn't a part, but I was connected in a different way.
Sure.
I didn't, if I needed something myself, I would buy it.
Right.
But I mean, for the kibbutz, we bought certain things that we couldn't get
Right.
across the border. And so we needed, I think it was, we were going to plant in the Chula. We were going to plant in the Chula Valley, which is where we have our falcha.
Yeah.
And we needed seeds, and we needed this. And so I made contact with a guy in Harfeish who was one of the known smugglers. And we decided to meet in the border with some of the Lebanese smugglers. And we met there. And well, first of all, we bought we were supposed to get mules from the Sochnut, and they could never get it. So I got mules. And then Sochnut came and said, "Where'd you get the mules?" I said, "I bought them where? In Lebanon." "Well, buy some for us too," they said. It was a different period, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw pictures of you like with a cowboy hat on and a gun,
Yes,
like a shotgun,
yeah.
and just you look like you're, Butch Cassidy.
Yeah, well, what I look like, but
And did you enjoy that work?
I liked it very much.
W-
I didn't like getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I sure liked it.
I don't. But But what time would you finish?
Anytime,
Anytime.
yeah. Anytime that you could get away.
No, but how you start at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, but the cattle are in the fields. You don't have to, sometimes we have to move them from here to
So you would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you just take your horse and go into the fields?
Right, until you get your horse saddled and you go out to the fields and everything.
So you go out to
it's
the fields.
Already about
you
5.
Go out to the fields
it's already about 5 o'clock.
The cattle's already out there?
Yes, they're either out there or you're taking them out there. I would go with cattle from here to Mansoura, if you know where Mansoura is. Was, right. Well, it's Moshav now. And we would take the herd there. But one day we also started to bring the cattle in the Hula Valley. Because there's green pastures and
it's a long way.
While waiting every day, you bring them once and they're fenced in or they're closed in somehow.
They give you lengths there,
yeah, in the Falcha also, no?
Yes, in the Falcha, yes.
And
nobody gave me land. All the land that we have here at Sasa, I got. Through hook and crook.
Look at me.
Yes, look at you. Okay.
Through hook and crook.
Right.
What does that mean? Like
they told me at the... and they said, and that's the Sochanut, Minhal Kakei Israel. You go there, he said, you capture the land, somebody gets on your land, beat the hell out of them, fence it in. Whatever you fence in will be marked as Sasa land.
But tell them about the new settlements like Even Menachem.
Even Menachem is a Sipur Achia. Even Menachem is a Sipur. Every year is a Sipur. Even Menachem is a village in the north. You know, they had a what do you call it? They're going to build villages in the north of the country, which exists today. All these moshavim on the border, they were all built, but nobody lived in them because they didn't have the people or the preparations yet. And I discovered near Shomera, there's a village called whatever. Nobody's there. And the grass is up to the border and even across the border. And beautiful land. Not only that, but there are houses built in this village. And there's a fence that closes in the village 2 meters high, and so forth and so on. And so I said, it's a good year for Sasa, but not for the rest of the country because there wasn't enough rain. But there was at Sasa. So I said, I'm going to save the Sasa land for the winter. And I'm going to take our cattle to Even Menachem. Even Menachem, the Al-Yad Shomera. Al-Yad Shomera.
Okay, yeah.
And so we did. We walked the herd to Shomera, and we put them in this village, and we had fences there ready made and everything, and we were there for almost a month. And people knew from the Sochanut that I was there with Yael, but nobody ever said anything to me, you know, what are you doing here? Who gave you permission?
Right.
Whose land is it? And I once got in trouble with Shomera because I hired a guy to work with me from Shomera. And he was not Jewish, but he was converted to Judaism, but they didn't convert him. He tried to convert him, didn't, but he's married a Jewish girl. So he lived in the Mushav of Shomera. And I hired his son, was, you know, kind of peculiar, half Jew and half, and he was entirely Israeli.
Yeah.
And I hired his father, who was the Arab, and they didn't like that.
I want to ask you something, and I'm going in a different direction. The kibbutz is slowly growing.
Right.
Kids are being born there.
All kids.
It's being developed.
It took 3 years till all the people came.
It took 3 years. How many years did you work with the cattle altogether?
I feel all my life. But that was the start,
70,
and I
Till you were
never.
70?
75 maybe.
You worked, wow, so you worked with the cattle most of all the time in Sasa. He was,
Not really.
and where did the
Not really. No.
Where was the slaughterhouse?
We didn't have a slaughterhouse.
No, but you took
We
the cattle.
sold them. There were socharim, and there were.
Okay, so you sold them to this. Okay, so you just raised them.
First of all, right. That's all. I raised them.
Yeah.
But he
Raised them and sold them on the spot. It's
Ambal.
Huh?
Ambal is a big cattle breeders association.
Yep.
And they organize the selling and the buying.
And was it a profitable business for the kibbutz?
Yes and no. It was a very difficult situation because the kibbutz never gave me a taktiv. I never got anything from the kibbutz. And I was running the cattle hard on what we could get or steal. And that's how it was.
And what did Leah do on the kibbutz? What was her?
She built a Bet Tinokot here. And she worked there almost for 20 years. She taught young ladies how to work there. And they were her friends till this day, those who worked in the Bet
So
Tinokot.
she left the Gan Yerek?
Yes.
And then eventually.
The Gan Yerek didn't, it was a seasonal thing.
Yeah.
And we used the orchard land before we planted the apples there.
And I remember reading something in here about that you at some point were the maskir.
Yeah,
You were the
twice.
secretary for 3.5 years.
I was secretary twice.
How was that?
That was interesting. I enjoyed it. People had such a hard time. They had to change immediately after 2 years because the guy was suffering from his tafkid, and I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it?
I enjoyed
This
it.
was in the 60s, I believe, right?
And we had a
It
misrad
was twice or 3 times.
twice.
Twice.
3 times, Jesus Christ. And I enjoyed it because first of all, it was dealing with people. And we had an office underneath the dining hall.
Uh-huh.
Where the dining hall is today, we had an office there. And one of my good friends, Partusi,
Uh-huh.
was a Sadran Avodah in the same office. And I would say, Partusi, do you know today at noon I'm getting people that are coming from Ashkash Bagash, from America, to visit us. We have to have something. Go to the, I started our what do you call it, our shopping center.
Uh-huh. Kobo.
Kobo, right. And I said, go to the Kobo and tell Yafa that I'm having visitors, I'm having people coming from Oshkosh, Americans, and we need ice cream, and
Yeah.
we need some cake, and we need some this.
Something, yeah.
And he was quite faithful, and he's a good friend, and I could depend on him, and he brought all that stuff. And the only thing was, he says, you know, I had one big problem by the time I got there. I didn't know where the guys were coming from. And I didn't know what.
They don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Tell me,
Mama, tell him about the basketball team.
Wait
Oh,
a sec,
yes,
wait a sec,
yes.
Wait a sec. I want to ask you something about what's happening right now. You're 100 years old. You lived in Sasa for 75 years? Right?
Yes and no. And I went to the States for a year.
Whatever.
Right.
Sasa's been your home for the last 75 years.
Right.
You raised your family there.
Right.
You built the place.
Well, I didn't do it alone.
Of course not.
I had
course not.
I had some good people there.
Of course. How does it feel that in October you had to leave Sasa because of the political situation, the army, the war, and you're now here?
Without connecting it with my past or anything, it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing to have to pick up your home and worry about every little fork or what do you call it, and not knowing, locked up, and not knowing if you'll ever get back.
How do you feel?
Feel very bad. Feel very bad. It's one of the worst situations, I think. I think it's one of the worst wars we ever had.
Have you ever been evacuated from Sasa before?
Never. Never.
It's hard to get you.
They tried to evacuate me from land that wasn't mine, and they didn't succeed.
Was it when you left Sasa? When did you leave? October,
Yeah, November.
November. So you stayed for the first month of the war in
Right.
Sasa,
Right.
and you didn't want to leave.
No.
No, he didn't stay after 7 of October, week after they left. Week after 10.
So not in November. He left in October.
Yeah, in October,
Okay,
10 days after.
10 days after.
But Abba was one of the last.
Oh, they were evacuating all the kibbutzim here and all the
Yeah, and
villages.
that's what I'm trying to understand. How you must feel. You know, you're 100 years old. You have to leave your house.
Well, I didn't connect it with 100 years old.
Okay. Just leaving your house.
Because everybody here, everybody living here has to leave.
Right, of
And
course.
we're all part of our organization.
Of course.
And we're all connected.
How bad do you want to go back?
Well, today, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever go back. It depends on how long I live and if they ever end the war. I've been at Sasa 4 times already. I'm not supposed to go up there. Well, I can, but he's not supposed to be with me.
Right.
And I take him. I take him because it's another little law that I break. And I take him and we go up and spend the day there. And the 4th time I said, what the hell am I doing here? First time I said all sorts of things I forgot to take, and this and that, and see my buddies, because 50 people are at Sasa. 50 people from Sasa are there today.
Sure.
In all sorts of different jobs. A few, very few, they refuse to go. And they're there, so they got a job there. And we have every one of these places that left have what they call something or other. I don't remember what, but they're a group of that militarily they're there to watch the kibbutz.
Kitat Konenut. Kitat Konenut.
Kitat Konenut.
Kitat Konenut.
Yeah, and they're about from Sasa. They're about 20 that live there.
What do you anticipate the future of Sasa? Do you still see it growing?
I see it so screwed up, and I don't know what the future will be. I'll give it to you in short.
Please.
I'll start with the Arabs. The Arabs are a community that are, well, they're pretty much divided, It's not like the Muslims or this and that. They're between them, they're pretty well broken up. But they have also the Arab. Today they're organized more. They have their community, they have their sheikhs, they have their Rosh, they have their mayors of cities, and they even have their army. And they are not worried. The people that are running the Arab community are not worried about how many people are going to get killed or how many Arabs are going to die or that they're killed here or killed there. Like I read in the paper, I read that a Jew got killed, he got stabbed.
Yep, in
It
Carnegie.
bothers me. It bothers me already. There's a Jew who got killed. But they don't. And But on the other hand, they control the Arab community by fear. And I mean, you can't do something that they're going to decide against. And there are different communities and different between them, and so they're quite confused. The people that are running it are not confused, but they are in good shape and they're so forth and so on. But the people, the Arab people, are very confused about what's going to be. And they're suffering. They really are. Everything, even getting killed, because they're Arabs. Now, on the other hand, the Jews are very worried about every person who gets wounded. And the Jewish community leadership are with the people. But they are divided as well.
Sure. Everybody's divided.
Right.
Every nation, every community.
Yeah, right. And it's a mess.
Yeah.
I would like to go to Afghanistan.
Huh?
You would like to go to Afghanistan.
You would like to? Yeah.
Go to where?
To the demonstrations.
I would, but
Yeah.
I can't. I would. Because a lot of people know me, Arabs and Jews alike.
Yeah. Would you say that when you lived in Sasa, you maintained a good relationship with your Arab neighbors?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even though you wanted to blow up the mosque?
Right. One thing has nothing to do with another.
שהם פוצצו את
מסגד.
המסגד בדיוק לפני שהחליטו שאסור
כן.
לפגוע
כן, מקומות קדושים.
חודש
Yeah.
לפני.
What would you say one of your biggest achievements was in your lifetime?
I don't know. It's the kind of question you're asking me that, you know, to sit and think about it. Did I ever think about what my achievements were? No, I never did. But I would say making the cattle herd at Sasa was my biggest achievement. But there is no cattle herd there, you know. They sold it without letting me know. We had a Sakhir, an Arab Sakhir that was in charge. And the Merkaz Meshach, they said, we can't continue in the cattle herd without somebody from Sasa running it.
Right.
And so they kept it shut. Nobody should talk about it. It doesn't get to Yak. Because they were afraid I would start discussions and this and that, and we wouldn't. The cattle herd never made a lot of money.
Okay.
But they have rules of how they make up how they make up what they earn and what they lose, what they will earn and what they lose, and it's very much.
When they sold the
herd.
They lost the shtachim.
Yes. You can't have a cattle herd. You can't have land, pasture land, without having a cattle herd or a sheep
When did they sell it? How long ago?
Not so very long ago.
יש להם את הגורמה. הקימו מרכז הגורמה.
I started that too.
זה היה בזכות זה שהיה להם שטחים של בקר שם. אם לא היה להם שטחים של בקר, גם לא היה יכולים לעשות את זה.
We have a big, what do you call it, in the Hula Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was built because of the fact that I had the cattle there.
Yeah.
Other people wanted it, and they tried to get it because it's a very good place. It belongs to us.
We're gonna turn off the camera pretty soon. Is there anything that you want to tell me about your life, your personality, your something that we didn't talk about?
Well, if I talk to you about my personality, it will be something that is the normal. I can tell you stories and so forth and so on, things I did, things I'd like to do, things I didn't do, but otherwise, it was like living every day was part of my life. That's all. It's kind of simple as that. I never thought too much of it, and I never counted the days or the weeks or the years. And when people say, "Chol hakavod lecha," I don't know what the hell I did, except not die.
What worries you about the future of Israel?
Well, I'm always worried about Israel, but this period is very worrying. It's very worrying because we were a very strong army. We still are, and we still control the country and the war and whatnot. But they have become strong, where they're considered an army and a country and this and that's a problem because they are fanatics about their beliefs because it's connected with their religion. Ours is too, by the way.
Okay. Yak, it's been a pleasure.
There's a couple of little stories that I would like to tell you, but I don't have them, and they're not. I thought about them before, and then I forgot.
It's all in the book. As long as it's in the book.
Yes, it's in the book.
You have a book here. Can I have the book for a sec? It's right next to you.
Yes, it's in the book.
You have a book here. I just want.
But there are things
Can you hold it for a sec?
Sure.
Turn it.
No, just like that.
No.
There are things I never put in the book.
It's about the found. Okay. Turn it around.
סובב את הספר הבא.
Oh, okay.
Okay, hold on. And this is a book that was written about you. You wrote it, or you were like the
Well, actually, I wrote it.
Yeah.
But I had help.
You had help. You had a ghostwriter. Somebody who helped you edit it and everything. And this is almost 300 pages.
Yes.
With a lot of pictures. I just want to focus in on it.
A lot of information.
With a lot of information.
Well, you should take this picture, I think.
You want to turn it around?
Yeah.
There we go. Hold on. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. And turn it around one more time. One more time, turn it around. And there you are with your cattle.
Oh, my cattle, right.
You look like Ernest Hemingway. And this book, I've read it over the last few days. I didn't read the whole thing in depth, but I had the time to really go over it. And we know that this book exists, and it tells your story in a very detailed way that I would probably need 20 hours of interviews with you. So I'm going to turn the camera off now.
There are things that are not written in this book,
Sure.
And I'll never put them in.
I'm sure. You want to tell me one of them?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn the camera off.
Okay. Good. I'm glad.